You can say something and potentially lose your friend forever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they can become so dug in that they turn on you, and you got to be okay with that because you said your piece. Common sense ain't that common.
It's not that common.
A lot of times when people say dumb stuff to me, they tell me they're dumb scenarios of situations that they're in, and they'll text it to me, or they'll leave me a voice note, and I'll say, hey, instead of asking me for my advice, just reread or re-listen to everything that you just sent me.
This is an Unsolicited Perspectives YouTube exclusive.
All right, Jay, got another Reddit post.
Mm-hmm.
What should I do? And this one hits close to home, and I'll tell you why after I hear your response, after I read what this person wrote. Okay. My sister, we'll call her Sarah, and her fiance, we'll call him Mike, have known each other for a little over a year. He's 37, she's 31. Sarah has always been on the slower side and is quite gullible, easily manipulated, and frankly has a poor work ethic and is very socially awkward. Before meeting Mike, my sister had only ever had one relationship, and that was long distance. Mike and Sarah met via a dating app in early 2024, within about 6 months of her breakup with their first and only significant other. Mike is 37 and lives at home with his parents. He does not have a college degree, nor does he have a significant ambition, and every time you speak to him, he has a different job path lined up. He wants to be a medical assistant, a manager at a warehouse, a logistics manager, a dental hygienist, etc. Currently, he works part-time with jobs within the gig community, Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, etc. And when inquired about full-time employment, he retorts, my mom says I don't need a job. That's what she says he says.
Mm-hmm.
Then in December, he popped the question to my sister, and they're now engaged. Mike is quickly urging a short engagement and has rented a house not far from my sister. Then in February, they had a discussion because Mike has insisted my sister make some changes to her style, including wearing nicer clothes, wearing makeup, etc. All while Mike wears cargo shorts and graphic tees. It turns out that Mike has convinced my sister to co-sign on the rent and asked her to split utilities at $600 a month.
No.
Additionally, he's convinced that they can find a wedding venue for September for under $1,500 in a large metropolitan area on the West Coast. I just see tons of red flags, and so do my parents, but they won't address these concerns, and I've been told to remain silent about my concerns from my sister and Mike. I'd love some recommendations that might help open her eyes to how manipulative Mike is being and how incredible lazy he is. What do you think, Jay?
He's a scammer. You're being scammed. He's a scammer. You're being scammed. This is a scam, and your sister's being scammed, and he's a scammer, and you need to say something. You need to say something immediately, and you need to tell your sister she is being scammed. This is not a good idea. None of this, nope, none of this is good. You need to tell your sister that she's being scammed. First of all, half of utilities is $600. No. I don't know any utilities that are $1,200 a month.
Yeah, only utilities I know that could get that pricey is if HOAs are included in utilities, but he's renting, so there is no HOA.
Right. So that to me says scam. If she has already co-signed for this thing,
she on the hook.
She on the hook, and but yes, this is definitely a scam. And he is a scammer, and he found a good mark in your sister, and you need to let your sister know, and you need to protect your sister because this, absolutely not. Like, yeah, absolutely not. No, nothing about this screams genuine to me. No.
Oh well,
it's a scam. He's scamming, and he's a scammer.
You're very clear on how you feel about this as a scammer. I don't know that I necessarily agree with you. And this is what I mean by that. Some people are just ratchet and lazy. And it seems like old Mikey here is ratchet and lazy, and he's used to having things. And the man is 37 years old, lives at home with his parents, which, by the way, not knocking anybody that's living at home in their parents in this economy in the world that we live in now. I get it. Not knocking anybody that does gig work, because
No.
sometimes that's all the work you can find. My issue was that he said, my mom said I don't have to have a job. Now that tells me they've been babying this boy. Even the daddy ain't been kicking him out. What he's doing is just finding a new replacement. He might genuinely care about it.
No,
but he's not emotionally intelligent enough to realize that he's using her.
No, he doesn't care about her. Because you ask me to marry you, and then you ask me to change everything about myself while you change literally nothing about yourself.
Well, that's also the fact that they've barely known each other a year, so they don't
But you
really
had
know
a
each other
problem
yet.
with my clothes and my lack of makeup before you asked me to marry you. But you asked me to marry you when I did not have those things. So now those things are important? Nah, bro. It's a scam. I'm sorry. It is.
I want to deal with the larger issue. And the larger issue is, when do you say something to your friends, family, loved ones about potentially a dangerous marriage that they're getting into? I got a friend who's currently in this situation. I've been in this situation because I got into a marriage that everybody around us, on both sides, said, it's probably not a good idea. But nobody said it to us.
I knew it from the beginning.
Nobody said it to us. Now, I've always said that me and her would still be married out of spite if anybody had said anything, just to prove everybody wrong.
Yeah.
And who knows, we could have probably been happy in spite. Maybe that would have been the thing that brought us together even closer, is the spite to prove everybody wrong. But people that loved us, not just you, the priest that married us, there were people that were in our lives that didn't say anything.
Yeah.
So you're saying to this person, you better talk to your sister.
Yes.
But you didn't follow your own advice back.
You weren't being scammed. Here's the thing. If I felt like you were in some kind of danger like that, right? I would have said something. Your situation, I was like, that was a learning experience. Like, it was a learning experience. Okay. Like, it wasn't, I knew if I said something, like you said, I was like, he ain't gonna do nothing but dig in if I say something. So I gotta let him learn this lesson.
And that's what I told my friend when my friend is going through a similar situation that you were going through. He's telling me about, his friend, and I'm just like, look, there's one or two ways that you can handle this. You can say something and potentially lose your friend forever, right? Because they can become so dug in that they turn on you, and you got to be okay with that because you said your piece. Or let them learn their lesson the hard way. It's going to cost them so much money. Let them learn the lesson the hard way, because you know that they're probably not going to hear you otherwise. I mean, you can still say something. They're probably not going to listen to you anyway, but at least you will have a clear conscience. This person should absolutely say something to her sister, and not so much because I think that she's scamming. The thing that threw me was she said her sister a little slow. Now, she know her sister. She knows her sister.
She knows her sister, and I completely disagree with her parents. Her parents also see the red flags, and they told her to be quiet. No, this is your sister. You know her better than her parents. Better than your parents do. The siblings know each other better. We know all of the things.
Yeah.
You know your sister, and you know and you know that she is in a situation or about to get it deeper into a situation that could take her years to dig out of.
Yes. Financially, years.
Could take her years to get out of.
Because he's gonna hit her for that. He's gonna hit her for that money.
There's gonna be an eviction on there, on her record, because they gonna get evicted. He gonna do something. He gonna be taking her money and that $600 for the utilities and spending it on something else.
Probably.
Okay.
She got it.
Right. And so you gonna this could have the potential of being a disaster for your sister. And some people in the comments were like, what are you doing? She's 31, she's grown. Look, no.
I was 31 when I got married.
Wasn't
so damn grown.
Not everybody got common sense.
Common sense ain't that common.
It's not that common. And if you know your sister, and you know you need to say something to your sister, don't listen to your parents. You better pull your sister to the side and be like, hey, I made a flow chart of how this is going to go. I got a list here. I made you a PDF of all the things that I see that's wrong in this relationship.
Not a PDF.
And I need you to review this, and then we'll discuss it. Like, no, you need to say something to your sister.
A lot of times when people say dumb stuff to me, they tell me they're dumb scenarios of situations that they're in, and they'll text it to me, or they'll leave me a voice note, and I'll say, hey, instead of asking me for my advice, just reread or re-listen to everything that you just sent me. So maybe if she does that and puts it on paper and say, is this what you want? Maybe she'll be able to read it. But what do you say to people by and large that are in this type of scenario? Should they speak up or should they keep their mouth shut?
No, they need to speak up. You need to say something.
Not just in this scenario, in every case, when they have reservations, when they say speak now, forever hold your peace, you saying they need to speak.
No.
Maybe not at that moment, but speak before then.
No, because if I had to do this whole situation over again, I still wouldn't tell you not to marry her.
You know how it would have resonated with me? You know how I would have gotten it?
No.
I've learned if people don't tell me stuff, if they write it down and make me read it, yeah, I get it for some reason.
Yeah.
When people tell me stuff,
I was just going to let you learn this lesson.
Boy, did I learn it.
Yeah, I was just going to let you learn that lesson. And I actually sat down and thought about it because I recognized it very early. And I just sat down and thought about it. And I was like, no, because I know my brother.
Yeah, I was gonna dig in on that one. But if you had wrote me a letter, I would have read the letter and I would have been like,
No, you would have reacted the same way people do at interventions when people read their letters. They don't want to hear it and they don't want to go to get treatment. You'd have been the same way. You would be like, I heard what you're saying, but you don't know. That's the response I would have got.
That's almost verbatim.
Yeah, that's the response.
You know me so well.
Yeah, I mean, you're my brother. I know who you are. And so I was like, this is a lesson you're going to need to learn. I think if you know your sibling or you know your friend, if they're not in any danger, sometimes they got to learn that lesson.
All right. Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you got the answer from us. I say, take it situationally. Sometimes you say something, sometimes you don't. My sister say, just keep your mouth shut. And okay. Unless it's a scammer.
Unless it's a scammer.
And that's a YouTube exclusive.
Join the conversation and follow the Unsolicited Perspectives podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your audio podcasts.